Welcome to Sheikh Hamdan's official channel, where we explore his poetic soul, his timeless expressions of love, and the mysteries he sometimes leaves behind. Today, we present something unlike any other, an intimate unveiling wrapped in poetry and emotion. The title alone is a whisper before the storm. Please stay calm after watching this. What lies ahead is not just a message, it's a revelation, a piece of the Sheikh's guarded heart laid bare. As you watch and listen, remember, not every truth is gentle, but every word is intentional. Sheikh Hamdan begins the poem in a tone both vulnerable and noble. There's a storm behind his eyes, a decision in his breath. His voice trembles through the verses, not from fear but from the weight of what he's about to share. It's a confession without guilt, a truth that was once hidden in the folds of time. This poem may not rhyme with your expectations, he says, but it will beat with my reality. And just like that, the world quiets, hearts freeze, and eyes widen. The lines flow like silk, yet they cut with truth. He speaks of a love long hidden from public gaze, a devotion so deep it frightened even him. For years, he protected it behind silence, locked it in his poetry, and watched the world guess. But now, he chooses to unveil the invisible. Her voice was the anthem I heard in every sunrise, he recites, and her smile, my peace treaty with a restless soul. He isn't just speaking about a muse. He is unmasking the woman who changed his entire perception of destiny. He warns the viewer gently, please stay calm after watching this, because what you are about to see is not fiction, not stage. It is a raw glimpse into the life of a man who has everything, yet risked it all for the one thing he didn't, her. The video that follows is short but loud. Candid moments between him and a mysterious woman, soft glances, hushed laughter, shared solitude. The world now sees what only the stars knew. His heart was never empty, it was just private. Fans flood the screen with comments, some in awe, others in disbelief. But the Sheikh's poem speaks louder than speculation. If loyalty had a face, it would be hers. If fate had a plan, it led me to her. He shares how they met in silence, grew in shadow, and loved in echoes. This was not a love he could broadcast. This was sacred. And that sanctity kept him quiet, until now. Until he believed that the world was finally ready to know. What's most powerful isn't just the reveal, it's how he carries it. There's no arrogance, no performance. Just truth told through trembling hands and poetic courage. He doesn't apologize for falling in love, he explains why he hid it. He feared the chaos it might cause, the jealousy, the assumptions. But more than that, he feared what it would do to her. I wasn't protecting me, he writes. I was protecting her peace. Sheikh Hamdan's words become a shield and a sword. To love in silence is painful, but to reveal it without fear is freedom. And in that moment, he not only sets himself free, but gives millions permission to love boldly, even when it's complicated. This is no ordinary poem, it is a key to his past, his present, and a hint of his future. His voice trembles at the mention of destiny, but strengthens when he speaks her name, though he never says it aloud. There is something haunting about how he speaks of her soul. Not her beauty, not her fame, but her soul. She was not a woman you conquer, but a mystery you surrender to. Those lines alone silence an entire world. He doesn't need to show rings or ceremonies to prove their union. The poem proves it all. 1,000 pictures couldn't speak what a single stanza did. She wasn't chosen by society. She was chosen by his heart. As the poem nears its end, he invites the world not to celebrate him, but to respect their journey. This love didn't bloom under lights. It bloomed in silence, watered by trust, and rooted in sacrifice. There is wisdom in every line, every pause. He reminds us that royalty doesn't exempt anyone from heartbreak, longing, or secrecy. Even a prince must wait for the right moment to reveal the love that made him whole. The music fades gently in the background, and the screen goes black for a moment. Then a final line appears, written in his elegant script. She is the poem I never had to write, but I did, because I couldn't hold it any longer. It's a line that lingers, one that invites us to breathe, to reflect, to admire without intruding. The message is clear. This was never about public approval. It was about private courage becoming public peace. Please stay calm after watching this, not because it's scandalous, but because it's sacred. Because love, when told truthfully, can shake the strongest foundations. Sheikh Hamdan didn't ask for applause. He asked for understanding. And in a world hungry for drama, he delivered truth instead. A truth that feels like poetry, wrapped in dignity, carved from the core of his soul. This is more than a video, it is his heart, finally speaking aloud. And now that it's been said, we can only watch in awe. The man behind the titles, the prince behind the lens, has finally shared what his silence never could. This poem will be remembered, not for controversy, but for courage. And in that courage, perhaps we find the truest kind of royalty. The kind that leads not just with power. The world paused after the video faded. Millions replayed it, dissecting each frame, searching for deeper meaning in every glance, every line of the poem. But Sheikh Hamdan's message was already loud and clear. This was not a performance, not a publicity stunt. This was his soul opening like a book written long ago, its pages weathered with patience. The silence he held for years was not weakness, it was respect, it was protection, it was love that in its most sacred form. And now, the world stood still, not in judgment, but in reverence. His eyes told the story even before his voice did. The weight he had carried in hiding this truth now seemed to lift as each verse fell from his lips like petals from a blooming rose. It wasn't just her presence that moved him, it was her resilience, her softness hidden beneath strength, her loyalty kept even in absence. She never once asked me to choose, he wrote, but I chose her every time, in every way, silently, faithfully, endlessly. That sentence alone broke the dam for many hearts watching. The palace halls that once echoed only with tradition now held the vibration of something more profound, truth. Truth whispered not as defiance but as devotion. He hadn't broken protocol. He had rewritten the meaning of love within it. While many kings built their legacies in wars, Sheikh Hamdan was building his verses. Each line not just poetry, but proof that vulnerability in a man is a crown, not a crack. I did not lose my power when I gave her my heart, he confessed. I found it, and as the days passed, something even more incredible began to happen. People from across the globe weren't just reacting, they were healing. Couples who had hidden their love, people who had waited in silence for their own moment, found courage in his poem. His truth became a torch, lighting paths that had long been dark. It was as if he had turned his own love story into a lighthouse for others adrift in secrecy. Please stay calm, he had said. But instead, the world felt awakened. Every time someone pressed play again, it wasn't out of shock. It was out of awe. How rare it is to see someone of such stature, someone born into the limelight, choose love over legacy, and heart over habit. He didn't need to show rings or give names. He had offered something far more intimate, a confession carved in verse. And that made it eternal. There are poems, he said, that are written in ink. But she wrote to me. Speculations swirled, of course, as they always do. Who was she? When did it begin? But those were the wrong questions. The real question was, who did he become because of her? And the answer was everywhere, in his calm demeanor, in his fearless admission, in the way he never looked away when the truth came forward. She loved me before I ever said I loved her, he admitted. And that kind of love doesn't wait for titles, it just is. Sheikh Hamdan didn't need to defend what they shared. The poem had done it for him. It stood as testimony, not trial. In a world that often shouts its affections for attention, he had whispered his, and it echoed farther than the loudest proclamation ever could. To love in silence was not my fear, he said, to lose her because of noise, that was. And so, we now understand why he waited. Why he chose poetry as his vessel, and the world's gaze as his stage. Even as the media tried to sensationalize the story, his fans knew better. This wasn't drama. This was destiny unfolding like dawn over dunes, slow, silent, golden. He had not betrayed tradition, he had simply deepened it. She is my compass, he wrote, and even when the world spins, she points me home. There was nothing controversial about that. It was clarity. The kind only love provides. And in the quiet after the poem's end, many began to look inward. What truths had they hidden? What emotions had they silenced to avoid judgment? Sheikh Hamdan's courage became contagious. Lovers separated by circumstance reached out. Hearts long closed and began to write again. He had started something far greater than a conversation. He had started a revolution of love grounded in respect, truth, and silence broken by poetry. The palace, once seen as a symbol of protocol, now became a canvas for feeling. Even those closest to him admitted they had not seen this coming. But they saw the glow in his eyes, the peace in his posture. It was clear. This was not just a poem. It was a declaration. And like all declarations, it didn't seek permission. It only sought peace. Please stay calm, he'd asked, but the calm was already in him. Earned through the years, he held his truth in patient silence. Now, the world waits. Will she speak? Will they appear together? But perhaps that's missing the point. Sheikh Hamdan didn't share the poem to prove anything. He shared it to free something. And in doing so, he reminded us all that the truest love needs no validation. It needs only to be felt, fiercely and fully, even if it's known by no one else. If I never say her name aloud, he said, it's because it echoes in everything I do. And so we end this moment with more than just admiration. We end it with understanding. What Sheikh Hamdan gave the world was not just a poem, it was permission. Permission to love deeply, to speak honestly, and to protect what matters even when the world demands a show. So yes, please stay calm after watching this. Not because it's scandalous, but because it's sacred. And some truths deserve our stillness.